Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle. Me, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Freemasonry. I chose that name because apparently the secret societies are behind a lot of the goings on in the world. And Satanism. Because it appears there are some evil entities, either physical entities or non-physical entities. What are we dealing with? What is the reality that we're living in? Do you believe in time travel? Ghosts? Angels? Demons? Do you believe that the powers that be that control our world, that brought us World War I, World War II, 9/11, revolutions, and lots of other chaos and anarchy, do you believe it's all just a coincidence and it happened by accident? Or was it planned? If it was planned, who planned it? I think if we all contemplate reality, a lot of us can agree that there appears that documented history only goes so far back. Yes? No? And the powers that be might even have us believe in something called evolution. Neanderthal man advanced, and finally we have the humans we have today. God created mankind out of nowhere? Or was there an ancient civilization far advanced than the one we're living in now? And what divided that civilization from this civilization? And were there civilizations before that civilization, the previous one? Are we in the third age or fourth age? The race of humans or race of beings on planet Earth? Are we going to be entering the fifth age? Where are we? Is it important? I think there have been intelligence on planet Earth all along that know more than the rest of us. Like in the Himalayas between China and India, there's supposed to be a place called Shambhala. Lots of stuff written about that. I've gone over it in some of my videos. We'll be revisiting it. And Hyperborea, north of Germany and Poland and Europe. Atlantis, maybe in the Atlantic. Mu, out there in the Pacific. Easter Island with those statues. Machu Picchu lines in Peru. Gigantic stones in Lebanon, north of Israel. Of course, the pyramids and the Sphinx. So there's monuments all over the world. And the monuments, to some degree, seem to have a similar characteristic. Serpent beings, triangles, even languages. Eric von Donivich's book had some 3-foot tall tablets that showed this particular alien language. And all over the world on monuments there have been these different languages. Even the cuneiform tablets in the Middle East was a kind of a different language. The Hebrew language, the Greek language, and of course even in the world today. We have French and Spanish, Portuguese and English, Chinese, Japanese. We have different kinds of languages. So just contemplating the whole of reality, it can boggle the mind. You wonder, what's going on? And what is it with this new age and new world order? What is it with the accusations of some kind of attack on humanity. The HAARP transmitters, HAARP, and apparently half a dozen or more of those HAARP transmitters located strategically all over the world. Alaska, Puerto Rico, Norway, down here. So this triangle location. That seems a little suspicious. And then, of course, with the Gwen Towers, these towers that have like a cobweb or spiderweb foundation in the ground. They got these cables that run into the ground from each tower. So it can polarize the ground, make transmissions of energy into the ground, radiating 360. Gwen Towers, look it up. And then cell phone towers everywhere with cable systems in them to indicate that they're high voltage and high wattage. Well, it only takes a minute amount of radiation from an antenna to transmit electromagnetic waves, and these new frequencies they're using are microwave. And you know how a microwave oven works. You wouldn't want to put your baby in there or your cat or dog to dry it off. It's a microwave. So they got this 5G network coming out that's microwave, and apparently if you go look at these bases of these transmission towers with all those transmitters and dishes coming out of them, the cables are big thick cables, and some people have done some calculations and said, wait a minute, they could turn the volume up and microwave an entire city, community, in the middle of the night. You wouldn't know it, you'd just start cooking. And I wouldn't believe that myself if it weren't for the dumping of chemicals in the sky that I've been photographing and videoing and publishing since 2005 when I found out, and so many other internet websites and authors and books. I've gone over some of those books in my videos, and I'll continue to address that topic. Chemtrailing, sky spraying, chemicals, maybe biological, dried blood, all kinds of accusations. You can go watch YouTube videos and see. And then the Terra events, lots of accusations that say that these are pre-planned, meant to persuade the public of something, like there's a threat out there, and meant to persuade or convince our leaders and politicians and other people to take more control of the reality, police action against we the people, building FEMA camps, cameras everywhere, monitoring the keystrokes you make on your computer and listening to your cell phones, and apparently accusations of even your cell phone cameras, smart meters, TVs with cameras that are watching you while you're watching TV. What the heck is going on in our world? It boggles the mind. Threats of World War III. Albert Pike sent a letter in the 1880s to his friend Mazzini in Italy, detailing that 3 world wars would be required, and detailing who they would be fought between and the goals that they would accomplish. And guess what? On the first 2 wars, Albert Pike was exactly right. So 2 out of 3, one might assume, and if you look at the stage of the world today, that his 3rd description of World War III will likely happen, if you use a little common sense, because the stage is set just like he said it would be. Terror threats, another world war, even the politicians, even the church leaders like the Pope and other leaders, calling for a world order, globalism, a one world religion, one world currency. Somebody's doing something. terror events, biodiversity, sustainability, global warming, global cooling, climate change, earthquakes, volcanoes, pole shift, incoming comet or planet, or an entire solar system interacting with our solar system. It boggles the mind. Aliens, UFOs, channeling. And by the way, Albert Pike was into the occult, and they communicate with some beings called masters. And this is a similar thing in the Kabbalah, Hermetic religion, the Theophist Society, Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Annie Besant, witchcraft, Illuminati, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, and 1,000 other organizations. The Golden Dawn, I could go on for a while. You can look it up, secret societies on the internet, and get a list for yourself, and you're going to find some common denominators. The symbol of the sun god, worshiping the sun. Astrology, the planets, the constellations, the different star systems, the Orion belt, the Pleiades, and so many more. The Seven Sisters. It just goes on and on and on. What is reality? What's going on? And if you study history, you know for the last 2,000 years plus, wherever the Jewish people went, this isn't anti-Semitism, wherever they went, they got into trouble and they were banished, exiled, imprisoned, killed, or policed, made to wear badges for 2,000 years. That's the truth. Even when I did the recent video on the Hopi Indians, little did I even ever contemplate, Series 161, a recent video, that I would be reading out of that book that they even sacrificed young virgins to persuade some kind of spiritual entities to bring weather, to bring rain, to help with the crops, to bring prosperity. And the Hebrews, wherever they went for 2,000 years, many times, and this is in the Encyclopedia Judaica. I made videos out of the material I've been reading from the Encyclopedia Judaica that was published in Israel in 1973. Big, thick volumes. 16 of these I have. So I'm certainly not making it up, besides all the other books I have. The material, photographs, videos, websites, pamphlets, magazines. Something is going on behind the scenes, and we're entering the age of Aquarius, and they're talking about all these potential prophesized catastrophes, calamities, disasters, invasions from aliens, New World Order, New Age, the aristocrats ruling over the rest of us like we're slaves, like the Hunger Games movie. But before they do that, they seem to be seriously interested in depopulating the planet. They don't want 6 billion people, if there's 6 billion people. And that's another thing. A lot of stuff that we think we know, I think we've been deceived. So are there 6 billion people? I'm aware that with the Russian Revolution in 1917, after World War I, when Russia was weakened, and the elites, the Zionist Illuminati, probably sponsored by the high-ups in the Vatican, they overthrew the Russian leadership, the Tsar, abducted him and his family, children and everybody, then executed them, and proceeded to kill, so I've discovered in my research, up to 100 million Christians and other good people, destroying the Christian churches, but not the Jewish temples. And it was the Bolsheviks who were involved in that invasion revolution, all planned, wasn't a natural citizen uprising. These were Jewish people, apparently, and maybe not really DNA Hebrew Jewish people, but converted Jewish people, Khazars, from the area around Russia, the Ukraine, Poland, Germany, a very barbaric people 1,000+ years ago, converted to Judaism, into the occult. So everywhere in the world you go, there are people that have been into the occult, shamas, and other people accused of witchcraft, and other people in these secret societies. So what is it? And does it entail fundamentally some kind of interaction with the spiritual realm, the non-physical reality? Lots of questions. Anyways, today I'm going to look at this book. After that conversation I just had, title of this book is probably appropriate. Blindsided. Planet X passes in 2003. Earth changes. 2003 is come and gone. 2017 is here. 2017 is almost over. 2018 is around the corner. And they're even prophesizing this Planet X is in sight, about to interact with planet Earth imminently, right away, causing a pole shift. What are we to believe? See, this one says 2003. Published by Mark Hazlewood. Blindsided, Planet X passes in 2003, Earth changes. So I've spent a lot of time reading books, watching videos, magazines, looking at websites, collecting documents, trying to figure out WTH. What the heck is going on? That's the best word I can use to describe it, words. So what the heck is going on? What are we to believe? So I read these books from all these different topics, whether it's the Uranta book, or Jane Roberts, or Edgar Casey, or Esther Hicks. I read a lot of material from the channelers, the mediums, the psychics, part of the occult, mysticism, kind of a secret religion. What is it they know they don't want us to know? And it seems they've been using these secret powers to dominate the other peoples of the world, even to the point of murdering and killing and stealing, so they can live opulent, perverted, decadent lives. They seem to be into some bizarre stuff, including sex or torturing people for enjoyment, killing people. Some kind of crazy mentality. Some kind of people are affected with a particular type of DNA that makes them psychopathic, much to the detriment of the rest of us. They seem to not mind killing people. Look at 9/11. Look at the Las Vegas shooter and all the other bombings and shootings. Look at what the governments have done. How many wars have the United States, along with its allies, mostly of the elites from the secret societies controlling other countries, how many countries have been attacked or leaders overthrown, even assassinated? Panama. So many countries. So should we, the people, wake up? Is there something coming? Is there going to be a pole shift? Or is it all a deception, a lie? So that's why I go over this stuff and over this stuff and over this stuff. I'm trying to get it right up here. What is the truth? So with that said, I'm going to read from this book some of the pages in here. But before I do that, I'll read from the index Get an idea what's in this book. Table of contents, Blindsided. Observatory sightings of Planet X in early 2001. The 12th Planet by Zachariah Stitchens. I've gone over that material. Ice Ages, grade school science. If you look at the charts of the core samples of ice, it looks like periodically we have an ice age. It's pretty clear. And I live in the mountains of North Carolina, and I've been to the Rocky Mountains. I've been down to Costa Rica, which is largely mountainous, and I can tell you, it does not take a genius to see that there have been earth changes, and gigantic earth changes. Even on the earthquake charts, you can go look on the internet. Apparently we're having lots of earthquakes and volcanoes. Sumerian descriptions of our solar system, the United States Naval Observatory calculations, the New York Times, June 19, 1982. So lots of the information out there about some incoming solar system or dark sun, Nemesis, the destroyer, Nibiru, apparently according to Zachariah Stitchens, which has planets around the black sun or dark sun. Doesn't glow like our sun. It glows more like a red ember in a barbecue grill. Those hot coals that are glowing red. So it's harder to see. Headline news, Planet X has been sighted. Chief of IRAS, that infrared telescope, scientist JPL, December 30th, 1983. Nemesis theory, Nemesis fact, 32 names for Planet X. Discovering archaeology, July-August 1991. Medieval drawing, destructive brown dwarf. Diagram of our solar system includes the dead twin sun and the 10th planet, aka Planet X. New Science and Invention Encyclopedia. Encyclopedia drawing, ancient history revisited, non-religious 7 years of tribulation. Denial happens and it reeks. Hello, hello, satellite. Cell phone not working. Just reading from this table of contents. Russia sets out to tackle the 2003 problem. The Twilight Zone. Controllers of the old San Francisco. Wow, 2 more pages here. I'll briefly go over these. 1985 Mexico City earthquake. Florida's 1992 Hurricane Andrew. Gangsters, they are rulers of our world. Royal Astronomical Society news release. Massive planet lies beyond Pluto. A mystery revolves around the sun. Huge mystery object in space worries scientists. Global post pictures. Government post pictures of Planet X on the internet, July 2001. You see how long this has been going on? What are we to believe? That's the problem I've been having today. Is all of this a deception? And here I live in the mountains of North Carolina, and I can look around and see there have been catastrophic events with the ground, and it has been turned upside down. Up a lot of these mountains, you could tell the sediment and the rocks like this. Something caused a huge upheaval. Of course, they tell us that there's something called the earth crust shifting and plates sliding over one another, then causing earthquakes, upheavals. What are we to believe? So when the comic runs by Tom Kay, Intuitives, Prophets, Legend, and Folklore, Edgar Casey, Gordon, Michael Scallion, Nostradamus, Biblical Prophets, Annie Kirkwood, The Grail Message, The Great Comet, a 12th century prophecy about America, Yves Dupont, The Coming Chastisement, Mother Shipton, Aaron Abrahamson, John Brent, Nancy Leader's Zeta Talk. I've been going over her material. Lori Adeltoy, My Angel of Truth, My Motivation, according to this author. The ancients had specific knowledge of X's, different planets that might interact with our solar system, orbit and destruction, the Great Pyramid data line. This is the end, my friend, the end. That's what it says here. Again, what are we to believe? Earth science evidence of abrupt, regular Earth changes from the approximate 3,600-year orbit of planet X. Scientists see evidence of rapid climate change. I've gone over books where the government has built underground facilities and apparently run into some kind of beings under the ground. Earth in Upheaval by Immanuel Vorokovsky. Floods, The Flood by Charles Ginenthal. Climate Change in Prehistory. Geologists speculate on Noah's flood. Moses' comment. Past cataclysmic events, extinctions, magnetic decay, deep quakes, climate change. Government wraps things up by 2003. Like I said, 2003 is come and gone. What are we to believe? And I couldn't believe it. I said to myself, well, maybe the whole fear-mongering about some incoming planet is over. But around September, it just went off the chart on YouTube videos again. And I've done some research about all these startup websites and YouTube channel sites. And these people are coming right out of the gate with some high-tech, sophisticated videos, stuff that the amateur like me couldn't make. So who's sponsoring this? Why are they doing it? Nuclear weapons, Russian subs, nuclear waste, biological weapons, after times government. What kind of government are they preparing to rule the planet after they cause some kind of huge disaster? Can they use the technologies they have today and cause a huge disaster, even a planetary shift, a pole shift? Think about it, the magnetic field of the Earth is very, very weak. You ever put two magnets together? You can actually feel the interaction between the two magnets, whether it's attraction or repulsion, depending on which way you aim them, when they're quite a distance apart. It's amazing. I've taken it 4 feet, 3 feet, had a compass on at arm's length, and had a little magnet out here. And I was altering the compass from 2 and 3 feet away, 4 feet away. So if they had all these Gwen towers with radiated wires every 200 miles, by the way, they could actually charge up the planet with a certain polarity and maybe make it counter to whatever electromagnetic energies keep us where we are. Just like moving a motor by turning a dial with the electromagnetic field. And then, of course, the HAARP transmitters, they can even electrify the atmosphere. So are there these intelligence, like these ancients in Shambhala and other entities or beings around the world, living underground, wherever, on the moon, I don't know. But do they have the knowledge and the technology to create an artificial pole shift? I can speculate. Apparently they're feeding us all this propaganda. Can they do it and make us think it's going to be Nemesis or Planet X, the Destroyer? I know they've gone through a lot of trouble to fake some of the religious things. There are numerous religions all over the world, and it benefits the people who create them because they get to be in charge. They get to be honored and worshiped and treated like gods. All because the rest of us are ignorant of what is really going on the planet. So I read all these books and I try to share. And I feel even if we can just get a little bit closer to the truth, it's worth it. How many people have been assassinated, imprisoned, threatened? People have been whistleblowers, escaped from these groups, told all. John Todd, Fritz Springmeier, William Cooper, Michael Rupert, and so many more. And they got programs like Infowars.com, Alex Jones, and so many others. After-time government, Medicare, balanced budget, fuel cells, playing around in the after times, extra thanks, and websites. So it looks like about 136 pages here. I'm going to just show you this stuff I just read. You can pause your computer. So I do these book reviews because I read this stuff and I want to share what I've read and what I think. I've got so many books on these topics. This is series number 162. So that's 162 books, and some of the series has more than one book. I've got more than 400 hours, 400 videos, and a lot of my videos are 2 hours. So I certainly exceed 500 hours of material. And I think it's helpful to watch the videos and take notes with a notebook like I do, and try to see if you can figure out what's going on. All right, with all that said, I'm going to read from page 49, Intuitives, Prophets, Legends, and Folklore. And if you've been watching my videos, you know I highlight this material. I've pre-read it. And of course, I've been researching since 2005 when I had one of those big zero birthdays. I decided to go down to Costa Rica to the Pacific Ocean, a famous surfing beach, Jaco Beach. And I sat at a tiki bar one evening with a bunch of other people having a beer, and I was the only American. And these people from other parts of the world said they felt sorry for we Americans because we didn't know what was going on in the world. Of course, I was a little offended. Come on, we're Americans. But when I went home, I looked up some of the things that they said, and guess what? They were right. I had no idea. Well, now, after 13 years, going on my 14th year in another month or so, I can say I have a little bit of idea. I was totally amazed when I was watching the Harry Hubbard video, one of his. He's a history researcher into things like coins and ancient monuments and all kinds of other stuff. And he was reading some material from the Encyclopedia Judaica. So I went out of my way to get all 16 of these books. And it was amazing to read it. The topics in here on the Kabbalah, anti-Semitism, Zionism. So when I'm talking about stuff, I'm not lying or making it up or anti-Semitic. I'm reading it from the Jewish Encyclopedia. I assume the encyclopedia that they publish has got some truth in it. Of course, a lot of the material in there is painted so they look like the good guys. And they'll tell you all about the Jewish people being accused of blood libel, abducting little boys and sacrificing them in very horrific ways. And I've made videos on those topics from books on those topics. Because I want to find out who and what are these people behind the scenes and all these gruesome things that they're doing. I can't fathom it. And that's why a lot of people are in denial. They can't fathom it either. They can't believe it. It's just too much. You don't want to believe it. You tell people to shut up. You point the sky spraying out to people. The plane is dumping stuff right in front of their eyes. And they'll look down and they'll get angry with you and they'll scream at you and tell you to leave them alone. They don't want to know about it. The planned New Age, New World Order, the fake excuses for biodiversity, sustainability, going green. It's a huge planet, and the evil forces have been destroying it intentionally. I guess it's some kind of covert way they can depopulate the planet. I have no doubt in my mind that the chemtrailing and microwave systems, as a lot of people know, are killing the bees and birds, and a lot of people are noticing that the forests are all turning brown. Even me and my girlfriend went for a little ride on the parkway in the mountains. And I've taken pictures a few years ago, and it was just full of evergreen trees. In the fall, after all the leaves fell off all the trees where the leaves fall off. The evergreens have those pine needles, and they stay green all winter. But this year we went for a ride, and the leaves pretty much had fallen. But there were no evergreen trees everywhere. They were dead. It's just startling. And that's one of the reasons I left Florida. I spent my entire life having a wonderful life, boating, surfing, water skiing, sailing, snorkeling, fishing at the beach. And I noticed the shrimp disappeared, the crabs disappeared, the fish disappeared. And I said to myself, and I knew a little bit, I'd been doing my research. I said, when all the living things are dying, it's time for me to get out of here. So I thought I could escape. I was wrong. What is going on in the world is going on everywhere. And it seems to be intentional, caused by these elitist beings. If they're not 100% human, then maybe a lot of them are some kind of hybrid creatures. And maybe some of them on this planet are actually aliens, as depicted on the hieroglyphics on monuments all over the world, like the Egyptian pyramids and a lot of the tablets and monuments of some kind of reptilian, snake-like, dragon-like beast, gargoyles. Even the American Indians and the Mayans and all over the world, they were having these images of some reptilian creatures, and even gray ghost-like creatures. So I guess the first thing to get through our thick heads, most of us don't want to believe this stuff, is there is something out there, and there's plenty of evidence. So again, with all that said, why don't I read some of the book? I've read the index. We know what the title is. Blindsided. Planet X Passes in 2003. Earth Changes by Mark Hazlewood. And I'm not trying to do an audiobook. I want to read a little bit and share it. And if you're really interested, go look up Mark Hazlewood. See how to spell his name here. See if he's doing any videos or somebody's interviewing him, or look up Planet X. Look up pole shifting. Look up some of these things when I'm doing this video right now. If you really want to find out what's going on, take some notes and then go look up stuff. It can be a fantastic investigation because it's just stranger than any truth you think you know. Truth is stranger than fiction. I don't need to read fiction, books about this drama or this stuff that's made up. The truth that I read and the books I collect, I have 1,000 of them in this room, and they're all non-fiction. And it's more bizarre information than anybody could make up, that nobody wants to believe. The non-fiction I have in this room. Nobody wants to believe what I can say in my videos about the Jewish people that's in the Encyclopedia Judaica. Nobody wants to believe these books I have, like an incoming planetary body, Herculumbus, or the red planet. We've gone over this stuff. Nobody wants to believe that the government, the elites, this lighting here is not showing the book, here we go. The inside story of the U.S.-Israeli covert relationship, dangerous liaisons. I got so many books. Like I said, I've made over 500 hours of material. At some point, we all ought to agree on one thing, that there is something going on. And it might behoove us to wake up. Even books like this. Aliens Among Us, Ruth Montgomery. Intuitives, Prophets, Legend, and Folklore. So this author here, page 49, says, when I first started studying intuitives, those would be people who are channeling material from some kind of beings from an invisible world. Channelers, mediums, psychics, intuitives. And I'm a bit intuitive. I believe everybody's a bit intuitive. That means you're a little bit psychic. We've all had these deja vus or dreams or whatever, experiences. I've had an out-of-body experience. I've seen what I thought were red orbs. So when I first started studying intuitives in relation to Earth Changes, so what do these channelers, these psychics, like Nancy Leader and so many others, or the masters that Albert Pike was communicating with, who I guess was giving him the information about the 3 world wars that would be required? What kind of beings? Helena Blavatsky, secret society, the Theophist Society. She was communicating with some kind of masters. Non-physical beings who could pop into existence and pop out of existence. Like I said, I've been studying this stuff for a while, so I'm seeing some common denominators quite clearly. So what did these intuitives know about Earth Changes? I had no idea that there was an exact date, plus or minus a couple of weeks, for the worst of these events. Neither was I aware that there was a definite cause for them, since so many different theories abounded. I couldn't have imagined that parts of the government and its select controllers could have known all about this for decades either. So do the government, the elites who control our world, not the government we think runs things, the bought and paid for politicians who to a large extent are traitors to society, because they're opulent to living in their mansions and their yachts and sending their kids to better colleges in gated communities. They're not about to give that up. But we're all spiritual beings, so I suspect when they do leave this planet, nobody leaves planet Earth alive, at least we humans. We're spiritual beings. When we get to this other world, I suspect there's some kind of judgment system, which is in the Bible and many other religions discuss it. A lot of different opinions on what it's like. But I suspect there's some kind of logic and order to it. And I think being on Earth right now as a human being is probably like some kind of school. Something to find out who we are, who you are, who I am, who other people are. But we get this free choice. Challenges and temptations are put in front of us. What are we going to do? Anybody who survives a pole shift or a nuclear war, would you really kill other people to take their food, family with children? What for? So that you live a couple more weeks and then you finally die and you wind up on the other side and you're being judged and they said, you almost made it. You were a good person right up until the end. And then after the disaster and you were hungry, you and a couple other thugs went out there and killed families and took their food, etc. Makes you wonder, is all this life a big illusion, a big play, just to see who and what we are? I take that question seriously after what I've learned through my investigation. It's not so much what happens to you, so it's said. It's how you react to what happens to you. That's important. There are many different prophecies that have earth changes themes to them. The cultures and times that these legends, folklore, prophets, intuitives speak from vary as widely as the individual explanations for how they came upon the knowledge. So there are many different sources of this knowledge. Just like psychic abilities, people can see beings appear in front of them. They can hear voices. They can have dreams. They can have after-death experiences, die and be brought back, out-of-body experiences, go down a lighted tunnel. All curiously have gotten the same basic message. So apparently this author says a lot of different sources are describing the same basic message and point to around the same period for these events to happen. Some of the ancient text that this generated from may not have come from true prophets at all. If they had good information that stated the regular interaction with Earth of the orbit of planet X and knew the approximate date of the previous passage, they could have figured out when it was going to return and created prophecies that would end up being accurate. So if there are advanced intelligence on planet Earth, descendants of people or other beings that lived here even before Noah's flood, do they know things that the rest of us don't know? And are they playing us for fools? Do they want us to believe the stuff that I'm reading about now, trying to create some kind of new belief, paradigm, or religion? That's the question that's been in my mind lately. It took me a while to believe that this stuff might be true, and it took me a while to think that this stuff might be one gigantic hoax. What do you think? Is it important what you think, or I think, or other people think? I think it is. I'd like to have more people awake, and maybe we could avoid World War III, nuking the planet, or whatever they're going to do, crash the stock market, blame it on some kind of terrorist event, and continue to do these terror bombings and shootings, pass legislation to disarm Americans, and then do like they've done in other countries, start slaughtering the people. There's so much written material. Margaret Sanger, the one who was behind women's rights, thinks, according to what I've read, that poor people are weeds and they need to be killed, plucked, fumigated. Weed the garden. Consider planet Earth a garden, and all the unwanted people need to be eliminated because they're like weeds. And how many other of these elites have made statements like that? Quite a few. The secret societies, Freemasons, and others call us profane if we're not in their little organizations. The Jewish people, whether they're Hebrew or Khazar, white people from the north, non-Hebrews, not really Jews, like Revelation 9 says in the Bible, Jews who call yourselves Jews but are not. That's in the Bible. They call us goy goyim, which means cattle. Got some bizarre people, if they are 100% human, living on this planet who really, really hate the rest of us. Look what Benjamin Netanyahu said in Finks Bar. Just look it up on your computer. You won't believe it. Or Benjamin Netanyahu is the prime minister for Israel. Or the previous leader, Prime Minister Sharon, many years ago, during a heated argument in the Israeli Congress, said to all the other Congress people in the Israel Congress, or whatever they call their organizations, don't worry about the USA. We control the USA, and the Americans know it. And I've been doing research. They planned and falsified information to bring us World War I and World War II. They covered up 9/11 and so much more. Bombing the smithereens out of the USA battleship Liberty, trying to blame it on Egypt to create some kind of political decision by the USA leaders. They wanted to destroy the friendly relationship America had with Egypt, at least from the citizens and people's opinion, just like 9/11 gave support to these elites to destroy the entire Middle East. They have to bring us these events, the Hegelian dialectic. They have to cause something so they can take an action and fool everybody. Back to the book. And all these things I'm talking about are appropriate to this conversation because I'm trying to say, with all that I know, is this another deception? Blindsided Planet X. If I want to, should I pack up and move back down by the beach in Florida and go boating and sailing and go to the beach? Or is the world about to be flooded in a major catastrophe? These are decisions you have to make. Should we ignore this conversation I'm having? You see where I'm going? What are we to believe? What do we see? What about the YouTube videos that are apparently providing a lot of believable evidence that the California fires were ignited and controlled by directed energy weapons, laser beams, and even jet planes dumping all kinds of flammables? If you go watch the videos on YouTube, we know they're dumping chemicals in the sky and apparently killing a lot of the trees and plants and bees and birds, and even some cities making people seriously healthy. They can't breathe, and so many people make it to the emergency room. And then all this propaganda about biodiversity, sustainability, trying to get people off the rural land in the country and everybody into the cities like sardines. Why? There are, however, some true prophets, futurists, intuitives, that are able to see future events with a high degree of accuracy. And I made videos on remote viewing from Tim Reifat, David Morehouse, a book by Jim Mars. Jim Mars recently passed away. So I'll be going over his books and other remote viewers. And you can go on YouTube and watch some of these remote viewers talk about the things they do. And look at these channelers like Nancy Leader saying she's talking to the Vedas or the Palladians. Barbara Marciniak talking to the Palladians. Jane Roberts talking to Seth. Lee Carroll talking to Cryon. And all kinds of other channelers I've gone over and will continue to go over. Back to the book. This information originates from a collective consciousness that the U.S. military government has openly admitted using. So the USA government has openly admitted using remote viewing, where they've obtained information through their remote viewing experiments. And I agree, that's hard to believe. It's only taken me 13 years of intense research every day, every week, every month to believe that there is something more to the reality than I thought I knew. There is this invisible reality, and I believe that 100% now. I believe that I am a spiritual being in this biological body. I've had an out-of-body experience. That brings to mind, when you talk about Jesus, I believe he did exist on this earth, spiritual entity or otherwise, that he was sent to give a message to we the people on planet Earth. And look what they did to him. They crucified him. They didn't want to hear the message. And I suspect, like Jesus said to the Jewish people, the Pharisees, the leaders, and the other leader Jewish people, he said, ye are the killers of your prophets. So the more I research, even with the Hopi information series 161, where they're praying to and having rituals to these spiritual beings, and they talk about how when they came up out of the ground after the last disaster, they were assisted by somebody. So I am getting a lot of common denominators, and maybe I am thick-headed, and it takes a lot to convince me. I do not believe everything I read. Like I've said in my videos previously, about 50% of the books behind me, in my opinion, is material published to deceive. And the other 50% of these books is published by people who see through the deception trying to warn us. And I make videos on both types of these books and try to see which is which. So when you read the books from the secret societies, the Rosicrucians, the Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, they're trying to get you to believe something. And you read other books like this guy who investigates, Frank Waters, the religious beliefs of the Hopis, and he tells you that they used to sacrifice, hopefully they still don't, young virgins to influence spiritual beings, to bring them better weather or rain or improve their crops. He didn't write that for nothing, I don't think. So like I said, 50% of the books seem to be part of the deception, and another 50% seem to be people trying to warn us, like Eustace Mullins, a Washington, D.C. famous journalist. One of the videos I've made on his books, Murdered by Injection, where the Rockefellers and other elites took over the USA water supply, putting fluoride in it, took over the medical establishment, and got rid of homeopathic medicine and brought us medicine with drugs and surgery. And so much more. GMO, genetically modified foods, and stuff dumped in the air, and propaganda, mesmerization on TV, billboards, radio programs, school systems, by these elite organizations like the Illuminati, which is nothing else than another organization like the Zionists, the Jesuits, the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, the witchcraft organizations, and so many more. They have thousands of these secret organizations. They control the planet, and I think maybe if they want to depopulate the planet, like the books I've gone over say that they want to do, it may be that they are worried about the Great Awakening in so many people. Because apparently there's just a few of them, and there's so many of us. So they have to have a mass murder on the whole planet, like they've already done with the Russian Revolution, World War I, World War II, and the results of 9/11 and so much more, Ebola plagues and other plagues that they developed and fine-tuned in laboratories. I've gone over this stuff. Some intuitives are just too accurate to be denied. I believe that they should be looked at collectively. And that's why I go over all these books. I go over it all collectively from numerous, dozens, 100 different sources. Hundreds. So that I can try to get it right in my mind what I think is going on. Of the many prophets or intuitives that have mentioned earth changes, I'm going to give you just a sampling of a few of them. Some might be familiar to you and others not. On the other side of the world, I'm sure there are several that I'll never learn about. So this author is going to try to go over some of the prophesized events, historically documented events, channelers, psychic mediums, and what they see and saw and told. And he's saying there's probably a whole lot more out there that he doesn't know about. Each culture and time have their share of them. This in itself gives rises to a greater intelligence that has a quite unseen hand in all affairs. So remember, if we're part of this physical reality, and there is an invisible, non-physical reality, I believe they do interact, and the only people who are not aware of it are the ignorant masses of people that the elite even calls zombies. Or they made them zombies with fluoride in the water, drugs, alcohol, mind control, deception. We need to stop being zombies. Science is a battleground for who's right and who's wrong, according to the latest popular thinking. What speaks to the general public in mass more deeply than the latest experts' ever-changing views? It's the prophets, folklore, and legend that have always touched the hearts and minds of the masses more deeply than continuing evolution and the endless stream of scientific theories. I myself started my study of this Earth Changes subject matter through the eyes of the prophets. Then my knowledge and certainty converged when I found all the scientific evidence and the ancient history from previous events clearly stating the reason and regularity for these changes. And like I said, I live here in the mountains of North Carolina. I intentionally went out to the Rocky Mountains to check it out. And I've been down to Costa Rica. And I've been down to Florida. I've been up to Maine. We have mountains in Maine. And I've been to Long Island, which is one gigantic rock. And I can tell you that it looks like something at one time was topsy-turvy. And like the Appalachian Mountains, whatever happened here happened a long time ago. But the Rocky Mountains, if you go into the valleys and into the mountains, it looks like it happened yesterday. And even if you go study this stuff in encyclopedias and other books, geology, they have different ages for these different mountain ranges. And apparently the Appalachian Mountains are one of the oldest in the world. So I am in agreement that cataclysmic events have happened. And I know that we have earthquakes now and volcanoes. So I believe cataclysmic events can happen again. I believe, of course, we're spiritual beings in these biological bodies. So, we could get killed, and none of us live forever. We do die. So I think it's more important on how we react to what happens to us. We can't live in fear. All the pieces of the puzzle started to fit into place as to why this evidence was being suppressed and by whom. I think they want us to live in fear, because this is a control mechanism for the elites to bring about their world domination. And that's happened many times before. Genghis Khan, Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Hitler, the Roman Empire, and on and on and on throughout history. And actually the very brief documented history that we have since the Great Flood. It appears with the information on Atlantis and Hyperborea, Shambhala, Mu in the Pacific, that there were ancient civilizations, and the information has been documented to some degree. Monuments are all over the world. So I don't think reality started yesterday. I think it's been around for quite a while. And apparently we're in the 4th root base right now. And this is according to the Theophist Society, the Hopi Indians material, and so many other ancient documented history from indigenous tribes all over the world. Are we in the third root race, or are we in the fourth one? Some of the books kind of say it a little bit different, so I'm not quite sure. But apparently they do seem to end and a new race begins. Like I said, eternity is a long time, and American and world history now just goes back a few thousand years. Doesn't go back documented any more than 6,000 or 7,000 years since the Great Flood. Prophecy has the emotional impact that opens people's eyes en masse to make a change to safely, unlike science or conspiracy. So prophecy helps people make a change safely, not like science and conspiracy. Prophecy seems to be what a lot of people will believe. And Jesus said, don't trust the spirits, you have to test them. So just because you're seeing a vision, hearing a voice, having a dream, some entity appears before you, you just can't believe that character. You don't know what that entity's agenda may be. Look at the Watchers, the fallen angels. Moving on. I'm now going to concentrate on the high impact, heart-wrenching gift of the gods. I push forward here with messages that came through intuitives, channelers, psychics, mediums, masters, non-physical beings communicating with humans. Through intuitives from wherever your personal philosophy can imagine they're from. So a lot of people can only imagine where these beings come from. Some people might believe in aliens. Some people might believe there might be angels or ghosts. Some people might not want to believe in anything. These segments may allow one to emotionally realize now is the time to take action to save your life. So apparently the story here is now is the time to take action to save your life. I guess if you believe something is about to happen. But of course, like this book says, 2003, of course we've all heard about the fear-mongering for the year 2000. And 2012 with the Mayan prophecy, etc., etc., etc. So if you think something's really about to happen, should you take action to save your life? Should you move away from the coastline, like the propaganda suggests, and even the media, controlled by the elites, talks about global warming, oceans rising? Are they trying to encourage us away from the beachfront property so they can have it all for themselves? I mean, I'm looking at this from all sides. And if you want to if you believe something's going to happen, you want to save yourself or save the ones you love, follow your heart and move to a safe place. And don't listen to the ones who can't see how close to the changes we are. It's your life, not theirs. So how many people read this book and listened to Mark Hazlewood and moved back in 2001 or 2002 because he was prophesying about 2003? And now, 2017, I've been seeing these prophesied cataclysmic events prophesied every year around September, October. That it was imminent, that it was going to happen in weeks or days or tomorrow. At what point do I say to myself, Rick, you've been foolish. You can't believe this stuff they're saying? Is that what it boils down to? The boy who called wolf? Or is it just that nobody can predict the hour or the day? And again, I'm in the mountains of North Carolina. I can't deny that there has been cataclysmic events on planet Earth. I can't deny that there not have been world wars and other major large devastations and wars and events. Plagues. 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, where they had great plagues. Were there some beings who spread those biologicals or viruses or plagues intentionally because they didn't want so many people around? Could that be a plausible thing? Could they have done that? Apparently, these intelligent entities, human or otherwise, have been here all along. I thought about that. They make those threats about those things happening now, and I find out through my research they've been working on these plagues and viruses in these laboratories, even going to Alaska to dig up frozen bodies from the Spanish flu. They wanted to recover it. Even the Army gave the American Indians plague-infected blankets so that the disease would spread so that the Indians would die. So nothing surprises me about what these evil entities, human or otherwise, will do. So would they be making all this information, fabricating it? Do they have an agenda? And apparently they do have an agenda. And it's world domination and planet depopulation. And apparently, according to the videos on YouTube, they're controlling the weather. They're using weather warfare. They have directed energy weapons. According to Judy Wood, they use them in 911. Apparently, they're using them to cause earthquakes and forest fires and destroy cities. And again, the masses of people are ignorant of this stuff. So it seems. The collective mind from which the intuitive's information originates is not confined to space or time. So is there a collective mind in the ether or all about this? Are we humans all connected through our spiritual entities? I mean, a lot of people know we have two lobes to the brain, and one operates at a slower frequency, like me talking right now, and the other brain operates at an infinitely higher frequency when I go to sleep and I dream, or people who remote view. So you could say I'm almost like a dual computer. On my local computer here, and then my other computer is hooked up to the internet communicating to the world. Our human bodies are like computers. So we do operate on two different speeds. The conscious perceivable reality and the unconscious reality. The intuitive. And this is what channelers or psychics or mediums are supposedly communicating with beings in this other reality. And apparently these beings in the other reality are warning about things that are in this book. Besides documented history, even in the Bible. The cuneiform tablets that Zechariah Stitchins supposedly interpreted. And so much more. Astronomers citing it with telescopes. I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying these are the sources, these are the things I've learned, and I'm trying to make a mental decision. Have I been led down the path like a fool? Or am I actually seeing what's going on? Is somebody messing with me? Or am I just awake and one of the few people who is awake? I'm being fair here. I'm going both ways. Which is it? The collective mind from which the intuitive's information originates is not confined to space and time. It can therefore see what lies ahead of us in the linear time continuum. So as I speak, 1, 2, 3, this is linear time. And according to the Philadelphia experiment and so much more research I've gone over, prophecy is about seeing into the future. So there seems to be some ability of time travel. Even in the Book of Oddities, where a whale would appear in a field in Nebraska, and they talk about electrical charges creating vortexes which can transport things from one time to another. The Philadelphia Experiment, Project Montauk. So how does that add into the mix of my perception of reality? So I suspect the reality is much more complex than what most of us know. And that's digging really deep, trying to contemplate what that might be. And I am aware that men, male or females, throughout history, have worked at solving that question, solving that problem. What is reality? And I'm sure people died or went mad trying to figure it out. People spend an entire lifetime. Some of them wrote books. That's why I read these books and make these videos, so they can have these videos and just have a plain out conversation. And hopefully after watching a half an hour or whatever of my videos or other people's videos and taking notes, you just might become a little more enlightened. Is that what initiation and the Illuminati enlightened is all about? Do they teach some people information the rest of us would think is unbelievable? Is it real? What is magic? Hence my videos. So we're all operating on linear time, unless you want to perceive reality in a different way. Our perceptions focus on but a short piece of it, which we call the present. So that's why a lot of people, when you point out the chemtrailing in the sky, or you talk about microwaves and HAARP transmitters and the dangers and terrorism and the Republican Party or the Democratic Party being controlled by some puppet masters deceiving the rest of us, some people don't want to think beyond the present. They want to live for the now. They believe ignorance is bliss. I believe we're spiritual beings and that you want to have some kind of soul growth. And so if you're going to grow, you want to graduate, means you want to become aware and learn. So I guess some people could be born and die on planet Earth and have no soul growth and actually do bad things and have soul loss. Maybe they were more alert and alive in a previous lifetime. In this particular lifetime, they prefer to just be a zombie. It won't bode well for them in the next life because they have to start out where they left off. Who wants to go back a grade or two? Anyways, that's some of the things that I think the way it is. Now, if you become a dedicated student of intuitives, so if you watch a lot of videos of channeled material like Esther Hicks, channeling Abraham, and so many others out there you can watch, get a notebook and start paying attention to what they're saying. See if they're deceiving or they're trying to wake you up. And you can tell by the things they say. Like Jesus said, test the spirits. You will find that there are thousands of these channelers of earth change prophecies from an untold number of individuals, groups, and cultures around the globe. The sheer volume of messages would not exist if Earth didn't experience regular cataclysmic changes. So I will say there are a lot of sources of this information. And the physical thing I can see with my own eyes and walk around on and climb up on are these mountains I've seen with the rock sediment, not like this, but like this. Something turned that mountain up on its side. And I've been out there to Arizona where apparently a big asteroid hit the ground. They have this big hole in this museum. And where the asteroid hit, you could see for almost a mile in that direction ripples on the surface. They have a long road to get to this hole, and I'm looking out in the cow fields and I see these ripples. So the vibrations of the impact cause these ripples. So if I could see that from one asteroid comet crashing, can you imagine what would cause these Appalachian Mountains or the Rocky Mountains and the other mountains all over the world? Trying to understand planet Earth is interesting. All right. There would be no need for our collective mind to be sending messages to us through our most perceptive individuals throughout the entire world if this were not the case. So there wouldn't need to be a big awakening if people would just start looking around and seeing that these things have happened before. Now, I am aware the government has been into remote viewing for 50, 60, 70 years, and psychic material's been around for thousands of years. And apparently other types of beings might be on the planet who live underground or whatever. I believe that the powers that be that rule our planet know things that the rest of us don't know. And in some countries like Russia, etc., have been building facilities to help people survive. Just like the indigenous tribes from a lot of places around the world have told about the last time that a cataclysmic event happened. Some kind of beings or intelligence helped those people, like the Hopi Indians, go underground or into the mountains. Ecuador, where Eric Vandanovich went into the mountains, gigantic caves were cut out with something like laser beams, glass walls, storage rooms, stairways from the Andes Mountains all the way down to the Pacific, inside the mountain. And those 3-foot gold tablets, go watch my video, The Gold of the Gods, in my videos I've done on Eric Vandanovich's books. Fascinating material. And as we know, if you've been watching my videos, I've been at this for completing 4 years now, going on my 5th year, and reading books for 13 years, watching videos and collecting material. So there is some credibility I give to the fact that there have been events before. I believe the government is preparing for such an event. I think they're worried about going underground and leaving all we people alive on the surface for fear we might break in on them. So they might have some kind of exit plan of putting some kind of plague or something in the air and killing off the people, or faking an EMP, or faking World War III, or something. I don't trust them, especially when they're dumping chemicals in the air every day and they don't tell me why. Or bringing the 5G network online with gigantic cables, putting hundreds, thousands of watts into the air, which can literally microwave we the people. And in California, it looks like they're using the directed energy weapons. Hurricanes in Texas and Florida and Puerto Rico, Costa Rica this year just seem a little bit unusual. There does seem to be some kind of an attack on we people and humanity. And they want us to believe it's just global warming, it's mankind, we caused it. A recent report released by the federal government says just that. So it's a huge deception. So is this material a huge deception? But again, I live in the mountains of North Carolina. I can see the mountains. I go up on the parkway. I can see that the earth has gone topsy-turvy at some time in the past. The most elite and the sharpest of this planet are mainly not the ones the society looks up to. It's the spiritually connected individuals that are truly the very best and brightest our society has to offer. And I don't have these conversations lightly, believe it or not, when I make all these videos. I'm concerned. I gave up my wealth. I had a house by the beach, another house on a waterway in Florida. I had 55 acres of land in Maine. Not bragging. I worked hard all my life. Saved some money. Took me 30-something years to get what I had. And I used up all those resources to be doing my research for 13 years. I understand what a starving artist has to do. It's not easy to take the time out to go collect books, read books, study, travel around, go to Costa Rica, go to Cozumel, Mexico 13, 12 times, go out to New Mexico a couple times, and one time spend a half a year there investigating, go into the Hopi Reservation, going to the Grand Canyon, going to Roswell, going to the museums, going into the Rocky Mountains, up to Maine, New York, and other places, and collecting material, paying attention to the sky spraying of chemicals in our sky, collecting the press releases on a daily basis, even typing in comments and getting comments back from other people. I've gone the extra mile trying to figure out WTH. What the heck is going on? And there's plenty of videos on YouTube. I've made big charts talking about all these people who started these websites in 2008 or 9 or 14 or 12 or 15 or 16, and some of them even in 17, and coming out of the gate like professionally produced videos. Because when you go watch a YouTube video, you can click the name of the channel, says it right there, and it takes you to the YouTube channel of that person who's publishing them. And there's a little about button you can click, and it says when they started that channel. And you can click the video link, and you can go to the right and click oldest video first. So you can see when they started first publishing videos. So you can learn a little bit about that particular person. And a lot of them don't use their names. They come up with catchy names like channel number Planet X. And you never find out who the publisher is, and they have all these nice graphics. You never see anybody's face. It's just a compilation of snippets they've captured from other videos. Seems like somebody's trying to promote this stuff. Alright, here's an interesting highlight here. When the Comet Runs by Tom K. So is there a book out there called When the Comet Runs? I am a follower. The truly unique person is the one who blazes the trail. If you truly sense that the impact of prophecy is more powerful than all else on the human psyche, then before you check out anything else, read carefully When the Comet Runs by Tom K. K-A-Y, published by Hampton Roads Publishing Company, Inc. He tied together prophecies, Planet X, Earth Changes, long before I knew the connection between them. So truthfully, it's taken me a long time to get to the point I am today. There's a lot of work. Like I said, maybe I'm just a dense, stubborn man, but I wanted to find out WTH, what the heck's going on. And I'm seeing all this stuff, and I'm sharing it in the books. I went over the Hopi book, and in that last video I made, Series 161, and I was startled to find out that the Hopis had sacrificed young virgins. And then the other one I made, From the Ashes of Angels, and discussing the fallen angels, and apparently biblically connected, the Nephilim coming to earth, mating with human women, creating some kinds of beasts and giants, and they were totally corrupting the planet, so God had to cause a great flood to wipe out all these monsters. And then the book I made on Mithras, or Voices from the Cosmos, these Angela Smith, PhD, talking about all these documents containing all the material from remote viewers, communicating with all kinds of beings. the reptilians, the gray aliens, the oranges, the orbs, the angels, and I've only touched the surface on that book. I got to back up and go through all those books again and make part twos if I haven't already. Just so much that it boggles the mind. So with that said, I'm going to take a break and look at some pictures. So like I said, I've been trying to figure out what's going on. I've shared these pictures in previous videos, so I thought I'd take a few minutes and look at them again. So the story is apparently some kind of second sun, a binary sun, is coming through the system, our solar system, and as this picture says, true or false? What do you think? The story gets bizarre. Even the French money has pictures of this on it. A solar system with another solar system. What the heck is going on? People are taking pictures. They say it's out there. It's coming our way. Should you be leaving the beach? Clues get warm in search of Planet X. January 30th, 1983. John Noble Wilford. Evidence assembled in recent years has led several groups of astronomers to renew the search for the 10th planet. They are devoting more time to visual observations with the 200-inch telescope at Mount Palomar in California. So you can see the link to the video I watched where this information came from. The Real Story of Planet X Nibiru, Marshall Masters. And Marshall Masters has something called Yowzer.com. And apparently, and I did look this up, I've been aware of Planet X, Nibiru, Nemesis, the Destroyer for a while. And I remember years ago, 2012, 2013, I was watching videos, and they said if you go on Google Telescope and you look over there by the Orion's Belt or a certain area, you would find out that Google, or whichever telescope program you were looking at, that they had blocked out something in the sky. And back then I did go there, and sure enough, when I looked in that part of the sky, it was blocked out. And a lot of people apparently are taking pictures, and they're saying they're seeing a second sun in the sky, like this picture shows. And so I started documenting. You can see these pictures here. And the red orb you see up here is not the sun. And then there's a little black dot like a planet on this one above my finger. But this black spot, because of the way the camera takes pictures, that's actually the bright white yellow thing you see in the sky. Same thing here. And if you look behind it, there's an orb behind that. So it's almost like the red orb in these pictures is like a flashlight. When you flash the flashlight at the wall, you can't see the bright light from the flashlight unless you're looking in it. It's pointing away from you. And you can't see the beam because that doesn't hit anything. But when it hits the wall, it gives you the bright white light. And if you take a picture of that, it turns out black with your camera. So what you see in the sky as the sun is not the sun. It's the rays of the sun hitting our atmosphere. And behind it, apparently, is some gigantic orb you can see here. So I've been pursuing this quite aggressively, trying to figure this out. And apparently, Mr. Robert Harrington. You can see yowza.com here. And this particular video you can go watch if you want to get educated about this. But apparently he spotted the incoming Planet X or the solar system. And through further research, I found out that he was also in communication with Zacharias Stitchens, who apparently interpreted the cuneiform tablets in Samaria, the Middle East, that has been completely attacked and destroyed after 9/11. And this is where it originates, these secret societies and cults with the Egyptian hieroglyphics and Ra, or Osiris, and Isis, and Horus, the all-seeing eye on the $1 bill. It all connects. So Harrington's telling us that another system is coming, and apparently Mr. Harrington conveniently died, just like Prime Minister Sharon in his Israeli Congress, who exclaimed, "Don't worry about America, we control America," and they know it. After that, he conveniently went into a coma. They didn't want him to have to explain that, so maybe that's why Mr. Harrington conveniently deceased. They didn't want him to have to explain that. So here's a £5 note, European money. It's got some kind of planetary body on it. So they have all these pictures. Apparently this planet X is Nibiru, is pretty huge. It's the big orange thing, and the one below it is Jupiter, and the little dot on the bottom there is Earth. So that's how big this orb that's coming is. It's huge, and apparently in the sky, according to pictures in the hieroglyphics in Egypt, they have these balls with wings on it everywhere. So apparently as it's flying through space, it throws off some kind of debris and light. So a lot of people are telling us they can see it coming. You can go watch a lot of videos and see pictures like this. You can go on the internet to go to the Soho.com, the JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA, Soho, and you can look at satellites monitoring the sun. And again, not trying to be a skeptic here, but are we really looking at the sun? Or is it a part of a huge deception? Are they planning on killing a lot of people with the population reduction? Like it says on the Georgia USA Guidestones, apparently put up by the Rosicrucians. It says RC Christian on one of the stones. Makes you wonder, what are they planning? If it says they want to have a world population of 500 million, and they're claiming we have 6 billion, I don't think we have 6 billion, using my intuitive ability. I think we have about 2.4 billion. I'm a bit of a psychic. That's what I think. They got all these pictures. You can go look up Nibiru Planet X on Yahoo image site. There's a link attached to that. All of this information. We've heard about comets coming through the atmosphere lately. Some people are saying when you go look up on the internet, some of those websites from university or government agencies that documented the recorded comments that people see, you'll see how many are striking and where. Just like on the UFO alien MUFON sites, people document sightings of craft or aliens, and You can see that they're documenting orbs or other things and similar shaped objects like cigar ships or flying saucers or motherships. Just makes you wonder, what is this reality that we live in? So apparently, here's my thinking. We're supposed to have this gigantic debris field around the solar system. The Kuiper Belt. Can you imagine if a planet Nibiru was to come through that debris field? How it would scatter so much stuff and smash into stuff? Wouldn't you think that they would notice that? Have they noticed that? Is that why they're accelerating some of these disasters on planet Earth today? Are they preparing for something? Just asking fair questions, I think. All kinds of interesting pictures. You go look this stuff up on the internet. The Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Nibiru, the destroyer, planet X, binary star. A lot of material there. And by the way, apparently they say our sun is so huge. Look at the size of Earth. Apparently, that's how big our sun is. What's interesting about our sun is you notice looking at this picture, it's not some bright thing you can't look at. Apparently, if you go outside the atmosphere and you look at our sun, it's actually a glowing ember like that. It's the rays from the sun that strike our atmosphere that make it hot. It's just like if you take a laser and you point it at a piece of paper, the air in between isn't getting hot. But the paper could get ignited when the rays from the laser beam strike the paper. It's things like that people don't think about. So apparently there's all kinds of crazy information out there. Documented languages and alien information on stones and rocks and books and all over the world. Apparently, if this is the second sun, are these the planets that are around that sun? Are they in orbit? Lots of theories out there. A lot of these pictures I probably printed out in 2012 or 13 or 14 as I was researching. And I was a bit surprised how intense the information came out this year around September, August. I started noticing the percentage of videos and YouTube saying that they suggested those videos to me. So they were stepping up the information. Just like they step up, see the planetary body that's supposed to come by? Just like they step up all this gun shooting and bombing stuff and start passing more laws, Patriot Act, spying on we the people. The Hegelian dialectic. They're doing something so they can do something else. They want to convince us that we need to be policed. They want to bring us a new age, new world order. So is the Planet X pole shift, all the cataclysmic event fear-mongering, is it part of the deception? We can't believe what they're telling us. That's the horrible part about the people who control our reality. Think about it. During the last presidential election in the USA, they gave us President Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton as choices. I can't imagine two worse choices. Two more bizarre people with documented history of being bizarre. It's got to be better people out there. Of course, these people would like you to believe that I'm the loon and I shouldn't be saying these things. Somebody wants you to believe this. that these pictures are real and somebody's taking. So with that said, I'm going to show you some of the pictures I've been taking over the years, documenting the sun in the sky, just so I would have a baseline in case something ever happened. I would know if something really happened. I've got a few thousand of these pictures, but since 2012, when they talked about the end of the world, and I was watching a video and some guy used a welder's mask as a filter to see the sun, I said to myself, I'm going to start documenting the sun in the sky. Just like in 2005 when I started taking photographs and videos of the sky spraying of chemicals, which I've been doing now for 13 years. I keep all this stuff organized on disk and computer files and all that. But here's an interesting picture I took. Look at that big orb in the background. Would somebody believe that's another sun? Can they create optical illusions with the stuff they're dumping in the sky? Apparently they can. You can see the chemtrail dust back there. And you can see all the chemtrails I've been taking photographs of and the effect it has on the sun. So they're dumping chemicals in our sky. What do you suppose can happen when they put all this stuff in the sky? Can you imagine a sheet of this stuff? What is it that it takes to make a flat screen TV? Can they also get some kind of effect by putting these chemicals in our sky? Look at this picture I took of the sun and this orb in the background. Now come on, which one's the sun here? I'm telling you, the sun, the actual sun, or whatever is causing our sky to be bright white, the actual sun is that orb way in the back. This picture was 12/17/2009. Remember, I started documenting the chemtrails in 2005. I didn't start documenting the sun with the special filters until 2012 when I went out to New Mexico. So I didn't even know in 2009 what I was doing, capturing this information of the sun. Wow, here's a couple of interesting pictures. Camera lens effect, you think? I took these pictures. I have all the negatives or original JPEG documents. So without a doubt, they've been dumping chemicals in the sky. Those are not clouds. I've watched these things come out of planes. I've seen the sky painted with endless lines. I've seen some of the effects with my pictures I've taken. So around 2012, I learned about putting a welder's mask in front of my camera. I tried it with several cameras, and on a daily basis, I was taking pictures of the sun. And the cameras you use, even your cell phone cameras, they have different apps with different kinds of filters. So you can get different colors and different effects. It's amazing with the technologies we have now, what we can do. And I noticed the different layers of different colors, the different intensities of light rays or heat, and the different filters give you different colors. This purple one, see the black dot? And I use some other filters. Date on this picture is JPEG. It doesn't seem to have a date when I printed these out. Some really interesting artwork, though. Some people said I should try to get this stuff on canvas. Every time I show it to people, they go like, well, that's just amazing. Some of them are amazing. The lighting in this room, it's dark outside right now. The lamp lights are not really conducive to getting quality pictures on the screen. But you can see the pictures I took with the different filters of the sun. I believe I've documented, after doing this for years, I do it every year, that I've got a pretty good idea of what the situation should look like with the pictures that I have taken. So if something huge was coming into our solar system, and it was really there, it would show up in my technique for photographing the sun. You think? Because apparently some of these filters I use are filters that change with the different colors because of the light rays or the heat, as you can see. So if there was something else that was actually there, it would show up. There's a couple more odd ones. You have to use different kinds of filters on your camera to get these effects. course, I don't have to tell you, don't be staring into the sun. You can see how it gives you these camera reflections and these other orbs that you can see. I spent a few years at this because I was reading stuff like this and watching videos on YouTube. And I was just wondering, is there really something disastrous about to happen? So with that said, there's one more thing. So when this planet comes by, here's what they say might happen. You can't make this stuff up. So what I thought I would read next is another one of these prophecies. This one goes back to the 17th century, the 1600s. And the person's name was Mother Shipton. You can look this stuff up on the internet. Message number 14 in this book here. Mother Shipton was first published in the 17th century England. Apparently, she knew how, why, and when, and what time she was going to die. She saw what modern man was going to be up to as clearly as if watching TV. Here is but a sample of what she wrote. There's a lot of psychics out there, channelers, prophets, and apparently remote viewers and documented history, even time travel, people going back and forth. Duncan Cameron, the Philadelphia experiment material. I made videos on all these, on numerous other books if you want to go look at the list. Philadelphia experiment. But listen to what she wrote in the 1600s. A fiery dragon will cross the sky. 6 times before this earth shall die. Mankind will tremble and frightened be, for the 6th heralds in this prophecy. For those who live the century through, in fear and trembling this shall do. Flee to the mountain and the dens, the bog and the forest and wild fens. For storms shall rage and oceans roar, when Gabriel stands on sea and shore. As he blows his wondrous horn, old worlds die and new be born. There shall be a sign for all to see. Be sure that it will be certain be. Then love shall die and marriage cease. The nations wane as babes decrease. And wives shall fondle cats and dogs, and men live much the same as hogs. Yet greater signs there be to see, as man nears later century. 3 sleeping mountains gather breath, and spew out mud and ice and death. And earthquakes swallow town and town, in lands as yet to me unknown. Not every soul on earth will die as the dragon's tail goes sweeping by. Not every land on earth will sink, but those will wallow in stench and stink of rotting bodies of beast and men, of vegetation crisp on land. But the land that rises from the sea will be dry and clean and soft and free of mankind's dirt, and therefore be the source of man's new dynasty. And those that live will ever fear the dragon's tail for many year. But time erases memory. You think it strange, but it will be. And when the dragon's tail is gone, man forgets and smiles and carries on to apply himself too late, too late. For mankind has earned deserved fate. He masked smile, his face, fate grandeur, will serve the gods their anger stir. And they will send the dragon back to light the sky, his tail will crack upon the earth and rend the earth, and man shall flee, king, lord, and serf. For 7 days and 7 nights, man will watch this awesome sight. The tides will rise beyond their kin to bite away the shores, and then the mountains will begin to roar, and earthquakes split the plain and shore. And flooding waters rushing in would flood the lands with such a din that mankind cowers in muddied fin and snarls about his fellow men. Man flees in terror from the floods, and kills and rapes and lies in blood. And spilling blood by mankind's hands will stain and bitter many lands. He bares his teeth and fights and kills the secret food in secret hills. And ugly in his fear he lies, to kill marauders, thief and spies. But slowly they are routed out to seek diminishing water spout. And men will die of thirst before the oceans rise to mount the shore. The lands will crack and rend anew. You think it strange, it will come true. In some far off distant land, some men, oh such a tidy band, will have to leave their solid mount and span the earth, those few to count. Who survive this and then begin the human race again, but not on land already there, but on ocean beds stark, dry, and bare. And before the race is built anew, a silver serpent comes to view, and spew out men of like unknown to mingle with the earth now grown. Cold from his heat, these men can enlighten the minds of future men, to intermingle and show them how to live and love, and thus endow the children with the second sight, the natural things, so that they might grow graceful, humble, and when they do, the golden age will start anew. The dragon's tail is but a sign for mankind's fall and mankind's decline. And before this prophecy is done, I shall be burned at the stake at one. My body singed and my soul set free. You think I utter blasphemy? You're wrong. These things have come to me. the prophecy will come to be. That's in the 16th century, 17th century, 1600s. And this book is full of this. So I guess you can see that here I spent 2 hours and I barely touched the tip of this book, just 2 or 3 pages, looking at the photos and reading some material. And there are many books published like this, and tons of videos, and ancient material in religions and ancient tribes all over the world about disasters. And I believe we're spiritual beings. So I don't think it's something we need to worry about, but I think that we need to understand and believe that we are spiritual beings and have some faith that there must be a plan to all this. And going crazy or going mad or harming other people, whatever happens, we all can control ourselves. And regrettably, the elite that control our planet, they're worrying about themselves and they're ready to throw us all under the bus. Even if it means World War III or nuking something or releasing a plague and whatever they're doing, the New Age and the New World Order. And if there are evil demons and forces out there, it must be the gods that these bad entities on our planet worship. Like I said, I read these books, make these videos. I'm just trying to understand what's going on, what has happened in the past, and what's likely to happen in the future. And what do I really believe about God and the religion I grew up with? Because even I'm evolving in my thinking. And the more that I research and the more that I understand, the more that I am aware that I'm a spiritual being in this biological body. Thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting.